Okay, hi everybody. Thank you for joining, and welcome to our Strengthening Digital Life Skills and Wellness Through Esports webinar. Uh, we have myself, Meg, and Ryan here from MHSEL, and we're here with Rachel from Play Versus. She's our main connector to our platform, and she's here today to talk about the gaming concepts curriculum. So how we can engage students through academia and in school, through competitive gaming and through esports, and seeing how we can kind of connect those two worlds to have some engaging and hands-on activities um, and different ways we can go about our school day while involving esports. So with that, Rachel, I'm going to pass it off to you to kind of dive more into what that's going to look like and what that could look like if you're interested in bringing this into the classroom.
Awesome. Thank you. My name is Rachel Murray, and I am with Play Versus on the customer success team. So if you're not familiar with Play Versus, we are the ecosystem from elementary school to college for amateur gaming. So what that looks like is our gaming concepts curriculum, which is available for elementary school students, middle school students, and high school students. And then we also have our competition for middle school students, high school students, and a college league. And we also have a brand new college recruit platform to recruit those high school students to those college teams. So it really is the pipeline of esports and gaming from elementary all the way up to college. We partner with MHSEL to run the Michigan State competition leagues or competitive leagues for middle school and high school. So we just wanted to be able to share kind of the full scope of how Play Versus can be your partner. So before I kick right into what is this curriculum, we're going to be focused on our middle school curriculum today. I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of background on how this curriculum came to be, why gaming in schools, why esports. So I want to talk about our authors of the curriculum, who are my coworkers now at Play Versus, which is really exciting. But Dr. Christy Custer and Dr. Mike Russell are the ones who are my coworkers still. They were principals out of Kansas at an alternative high school, and their credentials are pretty amazing. They're really amazing people. And based on what they were seeing with their students at their high school, they knew that they needed to find another way to engage these students, get them interested in coming to school, staying in school, and get them connected. So that is how Gaming Concepts was born. We have our two middle school courses that we're going to be talking about today. Next week, we're going to be talking about our high school courses. There are 5 of those, and they are a little bit more CTE focused. Today, the middle school ones are going to be a little bit more general focused. So we'll get right into that. But here's what they were seeing, and I'm sure it's what you're seeing at your school and your districts as well. We're seeing chronic absenteeism, obviously a huge issue, something that is always looking to be addressed. We're seeing students not engaging in the classroom, sitting with their heads down, hiding on their phones. We also see the different behaviors peaking and causing disruptions in the learning environments. And then, of course, the big question too is how are we funding this? How can we afford to add more support to our school when our budgets are already pretty tight? So, with all of these kind of issues at the forefront, that is how Gaming Concepts was born. So first, we're going to talk about our digital life skills course. This is meant for 6th through 8th grade. I find it better in that 6th and 7th grade, or 5th through 7th grade even, kind of age group for the younger middle school students. This course can be run for 1 semester or it can be stretched to a year long. So Digital Life Skills is our middle school course that uses the structure and the language of gaming and esports to teach essential executive functioning, social emotional learning skills, and the students will build self-awareness, resilience, and readiness for high school. All the while, they're learning some of those important tech skills like digital citizenship and internet safety. They're learning about social media. They're learning about computer maintenance. They are learning about esports. What is esports? What is gaming? What careers are available within that field? And so the hook is really gaming. That's what gets them interested, but they're still learning a lot of these really necessary skills that our middle schoolers are needing. We see this course implemented as a technology elective. Some schools implement it in their careers course. Some schools create a gaming class and use this curriculum. And so it's really meant to be extremely flexible in where you implement this. We also see some schools choose to implement this in summer school with camps or after school in different after school programs, or in addition to their after school gaming club or competitive team. So what this looks like, and on the next slide, I'll link the full scope and sequence as well. But there are 7 different units that, again, can be stretched out over a year or be taught over a semester, all focusing on kind of those topics that I already mentioned. But in the first unit, they're going to be focused on building a classroom culture. They're going to be talking about self-awareness, things that our middle schoolers need. But the hook, the gaming hook, is they're creating a personal character profile. So kind of like creating their character that they're going to be using throughout the semester. In the next unit, they focus on wellness. What does mental and physical wellness look like? And it's important to incorporate that when you are gaming at home. So you're not just sitting in front of your computer, in front of your TV for hours and hours at a time. Next, they're talking about setting goals. They call it a main quest and a side quest, again, using that language of gaming to really hook them. They continue to learn about digital and media literacy, very important. And then they'll look at their screen time and how their online presence can impact their future, very important heading into high school. And then they will continue to talk about just some more life skills, time management. They'll bring in budgeting, so some real world skills. They'll talk about what workplace ethics is and how that can tie into, as a middle schooler, what they should be thinking about and learning about. In the next unit, they'll focus on emotional regulation. They'll talk about rage quitting gaming. So if you have any gamers in your house and you hear them just kind of yelling down in the basement while they're playing, they're going to be learning skills to combat that and learn some healthy ways that they can still game and get their emotions out. And then in the final unit, they really focus more on the future readiness. So learning about resume building, interviewing, and starting to explore some careers after high school. So again, I will link the entire scope and sequence, but this is just kind of a general overview of what this course looks like. My screen, my sample here might be a little bit blurry, but I just wanted you to see what does this actually look like? What is going to be in the hands of teachers? So our curriculum is all digital. It is accessible on our learning management system. However, teachers can choose to pull that off and use it in a whole class setting. They can have students log into that learning management system and do the assignments online, but it is written in a way that it is completely flexible, that if the majority of this class does take place offline, where the teacher is projecting the lesson, projecting the different articles or videos that they are showing, it can be implemented that way as well. So the curriculum is fully scripted, so any teacher does not need to be a gaming expert by any means, is able to teach this class. My example here has a mental health moment in there. Those are woven throughout the lessons, just some times where they can reflect on what this means for your mental health, how to tie this in realistically. You can see some of the links in there, so it's very interactive with relevant news articles, videos. So it's not just a teacher talking at them the whole entire time. There's actual tangible things for the students to interact with. And then down there at the bottom in the right-hand corner, it's a little bit blurry on my slide, but you can see that it says purposeful play, about 25 minutes. Purposeful play is woven throughout all of these lessons, and it is an optional way that you can incorporate that gaming into your actual school day. And so it is kind of slated for about 25 minutes per day if you would want, again, a flexible piece that is just the hook of getting those students interested. We're going to finish our lesson, but today we're going to talk about screen time, and then your we're going to do our purposeful play. Everyone can go play their activities and their games, but the homework is you need to log your screen time tonight and report back tomorrow, and we'll discuss it. So it's that tie-in and it's that hook that keeps them interested. That purposeful play can also be utilized as your esports practice time. That's how some schools kind of bridge that gap between an esports class and a competitive esports team. And that might not be right for every single school either. That's why it's flexible and that's why you're able to kind of choose when to use that piece. But we know that that piece is what the students think that they're there for, is I'm trying to play games in school, but we got you. You're going to learn while you're doing it. So on this slide as well, I will link the one pager, the full scope and sequence, the full sample of this curriculum. And then we've also got a deep dive video of our authors talking about this in depth and kind of the methodology behind it and how they've seen it implemented. Additionally, this can be available in an asynchronous format. If you have, a virtual school or an alternative campus where you would need that, we have that as an option as well. All right, moving on to our second course that is a good fit for middle school as well. This one is called Fundamentals, Gaming Concepts Fundamentals. This one can be used in that 7th to all the way up to 12th grade range, but we kind of find 7th and 8th grade as that sweet spot if you're implementing this in middle school. Again, this one can be implemented in a semester or a year long. Very flexible on how you want to structure those lessons. Again, adding in that purposeful play. If it is those 8th graders and these are your competitive esports players for your school esports team, this can be used, that purposeful play can be used as that practice time, additional practice time for their after school competition team. This one is definitely more esports heavy, like the actual content is going to be more about gaming, more about esports, where with digital life skills, that was more of the hook. This is going to be a little bit heavier in actual gaming. You can see there with the core topics. They're going to learn things about the history of gaming. They're going to talk about AI ethics and careers. They're going to talk about communication as a team, as an esports team, and then how that can be a useful transferable skill for after high school. They will talk about some of that health and nutrition, the wellness, healthy gaming habits, very important with kind of that older student range. They will also talk about some PC hardware. There are optional projects within this course of rebuilding a PC. If your school has the resources to find an old gaming PC or an old PC on the shelf in the library, there's an option that will walk you through how to work with that with your students, which is pretty cool. And then they also talk about career readiness. This one, again, we keep it as a general elective course. So we see it implemented as a technology elective. This one we do see more as an esports class kind of title, but we do see it in after school as well, or summer school or camps. So super flexible on where that is implemented. This is a really great esports 101 course if your high school decides to implement more of a gaming pathway. So having them take this in 8th grade really sets the stage. And then in high school, if they go on to any sort of gaming design class or some of our different gaming high school courses that are a little bit more CTE relevant, this is a really good 101 course for them. So 6 units in this one. Again, it is way more gaming heavy with that purposeful play and those mental health moments woven throughout. But they do talk about, again, the history of gaming. They talk about AI and VR technologies. They will talk about their wellness routines, mental health, healthy gaming habits. So a lot of similarities with the digital life skills. And then they will also learn about on that tech tree unit, their different hardware components, some troubleshooting, some PC maintenance, digital safety, all important things, especially if these are your students who are in your actual competition team. And then they do get to design an app. So they'll learn about different app concepts. They'll learn about UX and UI principles, some very basic programming, as well as market analysis. So really fun portfolio project for them to fully design kind of an app from start to finish, which is really cool. And then in the last unit, they will start to think about their future. So what else can they do with gaming? Shoutcasting, which means broadcasting. They'll learn about collegiate scouting, and then they'll think about career planning and those transferable skills that they are getting from their esports and their gaming and how that can be transferred into their future career. Again, with our sample here, just wanted to show you what this actually looks like. So woven throughout, there are different articles, videos that are all provided for this teachers. Same with the digital life skills course. You have the option to have students log in and kind of have a flipped classroom and be working on these assignments independently, or teachers can pull this off and use it as in front of the classroom, leading the way a little bit more. So it's very, very flexible. Again, there are times for that purposeful play. So that is the hook to get students interested, showing up into class, and you can choose where and when and how often you would want to allow them to have that purposeful play moment. But in every lesson, it's written in and tied back to the main lesson. So it gives you that angle for each of them. Linked is the one pager, full scope and sequence, the sample, and the deep dive video as well. All right. Why? Who cares? This is what we come back to. So I gave you an overview of the two different courses, but I'm going to tie it back to those four pieces that our authors and that you are, I'm assuming, are seeing as well. So the absenteeism, the disengagement, the behavior issues, and then a fundable solution. Because our amazing authors are PhDs, we studied this. So we recently ran a 5-year longitudinal independent study with Wichita Public Schools. And we compared multiple participation groups. So students who were using esports, students who were using gaming concepts and their after-school esports, and then students who were not involved at all. And we included 118,000 students in this 5-year study. And we looked at attendance and discipline and engagement in the classroom. And here's what the research showed. Students who participated in esports, either in after school or in class with the gaming concepts, had 7 to 10 more days attendance than their peers who did not. With their discipline, they saw 10 to 50% fewer behavioral incidents, and they saw more engagement in the classroom, increased belonging, motivation to show up, a sense of friendship, and just a group. A lot of these students report that this was their first extracurricular activity. So again, just bringing it full scale. This slide has a lot of the same information, but to break it down a little bit more, when students were only getting the curriculum, the gaming concepts curriculum, they were in school 2 more days than their peers who were not. When they had the after-school program of esports, but no gaming concepts, it was 5 days extra. And then with that combination, that's where we see the 7 to 10 days extra attendance. So what this means and why it works, it's showing that it gives students a reason to attend school, really helps them with their identity and belonging through their team participation, and it connects the classroom learning to the real life skills and interests. One of the tips that our authors gave us and give all schools who are looking at implementing this is if you put this gaming class in the first hour of school, those students show up and they stay in school the whole rest of the day. So if you just have a group of students who you are really struggling to get to show up and stay in school, consider that as a solution. First hour esports class, they're going to get to school and they're going to stay there the rest of the day. We studied more. So we also published a peer-reviewed study about the mental health impact of our curriculum. It is in a medical journal as well, and I have it linked on the next slide. But what we did see is that those embedded mental health moments throughout the curriculum really help students focus on that self-awareness and resilience and 62% of them self-reported that they had improved sense of self-esteem. So we saw there was a shift from low self-esteem to normal self-esteem, which in that middle school piece is huge to give them that confidence to go into, go into high school and beyond. So the reason I'm sharing this is when you are, thinking about implementing this, you're taking this to your different decision makers and your leadership. I want to show you that we have proven that this is impactful, this is effective. And I have also linked these studies right in here for you so you can dive deeper. You can examine them with your different decision makers and administration so that you can make a decision on how and where to implement this in your district. All right. So again, just to kind of tie it home, if you need more bargaining power when you're looking at this or deciding on if this is right for your school and your students, we're research backed in multiple ways. We're outcome driven. We have that flexible implementation if you're choosing to do it asynchronously, after school, in class, one semester, a full year, if you're going to plug it in as a supplement in an existing class, all extremely flexible and meant so that you can make it work for your school and your students. And then we wanted this to be fundable. So because it's tied to attendance, that can help with the funding argument. And then we've also, on my next slide, I'll show you how we can tie it to Title I, Title IV, 21st Century Learning funding streams, just to give you the options of how this can be funded. So these are the kind of the four pools that we often see when schools are pulling the funding. So let's talk about funding and let's talk about cost. So for one course, for 1 year at one site, it is $3,500. And that is for unlimited teachers and unlimited students. If you want to do both courses, that would be $5,000. Again, unlimited students, and that is just at one site. If we start to add in things like professional development, we have that option for you as well, so that your teachers are not just going in blind. We will train you. We will make sure that all your teachers who will be teaching this understand and are ready to go for the school year. And then we also can do some different discounts if you want to pilot it for a semester, or if you wanted to your district, we have some discounts that we can offer as well. So $3,500 for a single course, $5,000 for both courses, and that's unlimited students and unlimited teachers. And I don't think we're going to have any questions today, but for next steps, I have my meeting link on here so we can dive deeper together. If you would want to talk to our authors, they're my coworkers. I'm more than happy to pull them in. That's what they love to do, to kind of get that principal perspective and just be able to dive a little bit deeper if you have any questions. Again, these slides will be shared out. So I've linked all of those additional resources, the scope and sequence, the one pager, the samples. And if you would like a demo of how this looks on the actual digital platform, more than happy to do that as well. So my meeting link is here. You can find me through the MHSEL team. Meg and Ryan will help us get connected, but please let me know what questions I can answer and how I can help you. And I hope that we can get this started in your school for next year and beyond. Thanks for joining.